What is up, everybody? Welcome to the weekend edition of Views from the Trail. We pray that this week's devotionals have been a blessing to you. I know that I've been blessed by those in our ministry that have helped contribute to the cause, and just hearing a word from God and then wanting to share it. Man, it's such a blessing. Thank you for joining us this weekend. This weekend we have a little bit of a longer conversation between me and the high school pastor here at First Baptist Indian Trail, Justin Kinley. Man, we had a great time just sitting around and discussing, first and foremost, the importance of corporate worship, why it's important for us to worship corporately, and then, the contrast now of understanding where we are in a society and in a culture to where we are unable to gather corporately because we're respecting the role from our government during this time of crisis and this uncertain time. And now being able to worship at home through a live stream on Sunday mornings, what are some ways, practically speaking, that we can get the most out of a worship service while doing it from home? So I pray that this is a blessing to you as you listen to it. Man, thank you all again so much for joining us. I'll be at the end of the podcast with just a little bit more information. But anyways, enjoy the conversation with, once again, our high school pastor, Justin Kinley. And I'll see y'all later. Peace out. Hey, what is up, everybody? It is Nate here, and this is the mashup between Views from the Trail and the Point podcast, because Justin is here as well.
This is what I hate about this, is we're not as creative as you. Like, ours is just like the Point podcast, and yours is like, Views from the Trail. You know what I'm saying? It's just
we're in Indian Trail. We're located in
I like
Indian
it. It's
Trail, good. And we're looking out into the world, and what do we view and what we're seeing, and dealing with topics that are going on in culture.
I'm not saying I was hating on the name. I just
it's cool,
I kind of
man.
like right now. It's just like the Point podcast. Nothing special.
I know
nothing special, but I like it. It's fun. It's fun, and we are posting this on our podcast too, because why not?
Like, we don't have a creative name for like our gathering, like it's just called, Bible study, Thursday night Bible study, Ignite. That's true. Thursday.
We do, we call our student night.
Student night.
It's
a night for students.
It's so creative. Creative. I love it. I love it.
Steve's is
midweek.
Mm-hmm. Midweek.
Yeah.
We don't have any really cool names or anything.
We name our ministries, and other than that, it's just screw it. Whatever.
Exactly.
That's what it is.
But anyways, we are so excited that you have decided to join us. Man, what a whirlwind of the past couple weeks, right?
Dude, it's been crazy. As I'm sure none of them know what's going on. You know what I'm saying? I'm just kidding. It's been crazy, man. I think the thing, too, is, as we're recording this, it's a Wednesday. Well, just 2 weeks ago, we were like Operation Normal. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was just going on. I mean, I know like Thursday morning, 2 weeks ago tomorrow, we had the E. coli scare in Union County.
Oh my gosh.
And so that was the last time I like hung out with students on a Thursday morning. And then like all of a sudden it's like, bam, you might not see them for 8 or 9 weeks. I was trying to think. I mean, I don't know. I think a lot of people are in agreement on this, but I don't know of anything else that's been crazier like that's happened in my life. Because I remember I was 6 years old when 9/11 happened. Mm-hmm. I was 6 years old when 9/11 happened. I guess you could say the recession in 08, 09, kind of that was a big moment. But nothing like this, man. I mean, it's been crazy. It really has been. I feel like this just drug on so long because the news changes so fast. You feel like every day, every half day, like feels like a whole day because news is changing. Does that make sense?
Well, I think that it's every single day at 5:00 when they have that COVID-19 update from the White House, and like you see Trump and Pence come out, and Pence holds up his little sheet of paper.
Sometimes, man, I want Pence to have like a pulse. Like somebody's that dude looks like a statue, and I like Mike Pence, but he looks like a statue up there. Like, breathe, man.
And so like every single day, like you're waiting for that press conference because you're expecting something to change, or you're going to hear from the governor, or hear from a mayor, or hear from a city council, and they're going to be like, okay, things are changing because things are...
Oh, man. Caitlin Shoemate is calling us.
Okay.
We're just going to embrace it.
Oh, my goodness.
We're going to talk to Caitlin on the phone here. Hey, I'm recording a podcast on that. Can I call you later? You're good. Okay.
I
Thanks,
just heard her outside.
It's all good. It's all good.
But things are constantly changing for us.
Mm-hmm.
And so for that purpose, what we do then has been constantly changing, correct?
Very much so. Very much so.
Like now,
And not just church world, like everything.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so, where you're at specifically with and how you're connecting with your students. Because the fact of the matter is that a lot of people have been talking about whether they're in college, whether they're in high school, whether they are able now to work from home. There is this idea of this coronavirus Sabbath, or like this break from life to where you can get some rest. Whereas I would feel like a lot of us in the church world, it's been like twice as hard, right? Or not twice as hard, but like we've become twice as busy.
Yeah, it's different. It definitely is different because where and I really don't want to like sound like I'm like complaining about it because it's been such a fun challenge.
Yeah,
I hope people don't hear this and be like, oh, you're in ministry, it's so hard.
No,
you know what I'm saying? That's not what I'm saying. But it definitely has been a challenge in that, like, where, like you said, like other people are told to go home. And what I think's been beautiful about this, which we can talk about later, but it's just that the church doesn't stop and the church never stops. So literally, I was talking with a local youth pastor friend of mine, and I was just like, man, literally our entire model of ministry switched on a dime, you know? And so it's been wild. It really has been, because I mean, I think everyone, whether people like to acknowledge it or not, I think most people are creatures of habit and stuff they like to do. And you get very comfortable in rhythms and get very comfortable in schedules, whether you realize it or not. And then all of a sudden it's bam, your entire schedule has to switch. And so, yeah, it's been crazy. It really has been, because, I feel better this week. I don't know about you, but I feel better this week now that I kind of know where we're at. But I felt like last week was just, my head was constantly spinning. Like, okay, what are we going to do about this? And what are we going to do here? Because kind of our whole model has been, I don't know if you want to know this, Blake, but our whole model has just been like, okay, what were we doing? We could physically meet. And then how can we do the same thing, just deliver it through a different medium, and then maybe add one or two other things to create more community. But it's really, okay, what were we doing? Now how can we do it differently? But it's been crazy, man. This has definitely not been a restful week and a half.
I think the most interesting thing that, and kind of like the topic of the podcast today, just as a whole, is the fact that the thing that has changed most for both of us is, while yes, my Thursday, your Wednesday, but more than anything are our Sunday mornings.
Yeah.
Like, we have had the ability, praise the Lord, to be able to be in the worship center and worship with Matthew and the worship team, and then hear preacher preach. But we're home.
It's just different.
Yeah, we're home by 9:30. Where 9:30 is where me and you are usually ramping up our small group life groups. Doing things like that on Sunday, and to where now for us our Sundays look completely different. And if our Sundays look completely different, I bet that those who are listening to this podcast, their Sundays
absolutely
look completely different. But before we get started in talking about how our Sundays look different and how we can take full advantage of worship on a Sunday morning now, I think we need to establish, like, what does God's Word say about the importance of corporate worship, right?
Yeah.
And so what comes to mind to you, and I have some stuff, but I'm just going to throw you on the spot here.
Here's what I love is Nate didn't tell me you were going to go this direction, and then I get the first question. I love it.
I think,
I can go.
Go, because you're so smart, Justin. You're one of the smartest ones on staff here.
I pose really well.
No, you're good.
I've learned if you can say stuff in a cute way, people kind of think you're smarter than you actually are.
Yeah. There you go.
No, I'm just playing.
What's the Michael Scott quote that you just keep on talking?
Yeah, sometimes I don't really know where I'm going. I just started a sentence and just see where it ends up. It's like an improv conversation. It's an improvisation. That's what it is. So I love The Office. Side note, real quick. Yesterday was the anniversary of The Office coming out, and they live streamed just the best moments from The Office, and it was amazing. Anyway, it was great. No, I mean, the thing that I continually go or keep coming back is, I'm not about to give a specific reference, but just, I mean, you're going through Acts right now in Ignite, and I've always told this to our students. I say, I dare you to find me in the Bible a Christian who's living in isolation. and you can't find it, right? I mean, it's just all in the New Testament, but specifically in the book of Acts. And then even if you look to Paul, I mean, I guess, he wrote to Timothy and Titus, which would be individual people. And then, he wrote to Philemon. So there's an individual person, but most of his letters are written to corporate gatherings of believers. And especially just in Acts, right? I mean, the church is gathering together to pray. They're gathering together to worship. I think when Paul is teaching, and Eutychus falls out the window, right?
Yeah.
Is they're gathering physically together, and my students will know, our high school students will know that I love Acts 2:42, and they devoted themselves, and I always think about that as it wasn't optional for them.
Yeah.
It wasn't something that was very convenient. And I really am praying, not to jump too far ahead in this conversation already, but I'm praying that we really get woken up to that idea. As I heard a pastor on the way over here actually talking, and he was like, it's funny, he's had church members who he knows 3 weeks ago would begrudgingly come to church, and now just 2 weeks into this, they're wishing they could come.
Yeah.
And so I think it's really going to do that, because in the early church, they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching, to breaking of bread, to fellowship. And fellowship right there, huge, to just being together. And then finally, they devoted themselves to prayer too. And obviously, especially then, they didn't have cell phones, they didn't have internet, all that stuff. And so if they're devoting themselves to those things, you have to be together. And so you have to be. And so I don't really have, this might be harsh for you bring it on Thursday nights. You get real. I get real with our high school students a lot. And I just tell them, I'm like, I don't have any sympathy for someone who says, maybe sympathy is not the right word, but you know what I mean, where they say, man, I love Jesus, but I don't really need the church.
Well, that
doesn't make sense.
You're only as connected as you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was one thing that I kind of even pushed, because I'll have some people that'll come up to me and say, well, I didn't do this, or I didn't hear about this, or try to give us, a Eeyore type of moment.
Yeah.
When the fact of the matter is that we have multiple opportunities for you to connect.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And if you're not connecting, then it's not my fault.
Yeah.
Like, there has to come up this responsibility for you of like, okay, this is what His Word teaches. His Word openly always communicates the importance of, like you said, Acts, fellowshipping one with another. David in his psalm says, we sang how this Sunday you will hear better is one day in our worship service. But just a reminder of that, how lovely is your dwelling place, how lovely, I want to be where you are, Lord.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is, that's the church. That's the church building. That is where we are gathering together for worship, where we're gathering together for Bible study.
Yeah.
Well, yes, we know that, I can have church, in my, by myself, because, I'm a temple of the living Lord as well. But, well, yes, you can, but there's something that is special about just gathering together. And something that's beautiful about singing together. Yeah. Opening God's Word together. Even to the point of looking at our whole belief system, it's based upon a physical Jesus. And if we look at the life of Jesus, how important was his time with people? Yeah. Now, while yes, we see his time alone with God, and I think that we can look at that adamantly as devotional time, quiet time, prayer time specifically, that is you and the Lord, but that just wasn't his walk with Christ, walk with God. His walk with God pushed him to be in crowds, be with people, become somebody that understood the importance of gathering with others. And so I think that before any of this that we talk about, I think that it is important, first and foremost, that we say that we are adamant about publicly gathering with believers. Yeah. Correct?
100%. And that's where, not to get in, where as we're recording this, I'm about to do an Instagram live with Eli Blaylock down at East Campus in about an hour.
Eli's the man. You know that if we still have our summer retreat,
is he doing it for you?
Yeah, he's gonna do it for
me,
man.
He's great.
I love Eli.
He probably won't listen to this, so I can say this. I love listening to him teach the word, man. He's so good.
He's good.
He's so good. But that's one thing we're talking about, and I don't know if you want to dive down this. I wasn't planning on going here, but
it's
it
fine,
just kind of
man.
segued into it. Is what is that line of because I see so many people right now, and it's like almost this like uber excitement of like church online. Yeah, like this is amazing. This is where the church should have been all along because people are online, all that stuff, and I get that because I think I think obviously you're getting more exposure to the world. I mean, it's been so cool to me on Facebook every Sunday, and I know I'm friends with a lot of Christian people, but just like, I mean, Facebook pages are just filled with church service.
Seriously,
It's
there's
awesome.
a problem, right? Like Facebook has acknowledged the fact that there is a ton of preaching right now on Facebook.
Yeah, and that's amazing, right? That's
Yes.
incredible. And so, like, and then is it making us think? I mean, it's making me think. Okay, when all this is done, how do I continue to use online better? Because I feel like we were decent at it, but how do I use online better to reach our students? It's like in no way. Like I think we should be very excited about this, and I think we should be excited about the opportunity. To say it in a preachery way, I've told our leaders is we can't view this as an obstacle because it's where we are. It's where we are right now. So it's not an obstacle, but it's an opportunity to grow ourselves, to grow as leaders, to grow in how we communicate and how we reach. So I think it's perfectly okay to be excited about it, but I do think there is a line that says, okay, I'm excited about the fact that I can still worship on a Sunday morning with my wife and with my church family watching it on live stream. I'm excited about that. But man, there's a really true sense of my heart that I would even go as far to say the word saddened. I don't know if you would say that word or not. So if you do, you can disagree with me.
Yeah.
But saddened that, man, I can't physically meet together. And mix that with joy because we can worship still, and absolutely, man, we can worship the Lord in our dens and our living rooms, and that's just, and we could talk forever about how God is not limited by our resources, which is incredible. But I do think there should be a healthy blend of, man, I'm so excited about the resources we have, but man, I really, really miss being together, and I really, really miss being with one another. You know?
I think the fear is, and as we go towards how we can practically make worship at home like something that is mirroring what you see on a Sunday morning.
Yeah.
But I think like the fear is that I'm thinking of is that we're already living in a culture that a lot of people that I've had conversations with a lot of people that say they struggle with social anxiety.
Yeah.
That you see a lot of memes that happen where people just celebrate the fact that that plans have been canceled.
Mm-hmm.
That it is becoming more and more comfortable for you to be in a place to where you can basically do everything from home.
Yeah.
You can work from home. You can get your groceries and your food delivered to you.
Mm-hmm.
You can interact from home. And as soon as we have inserted the fact that where we're saying that, I don't think that we're saying this, but overall, I think a lot of, or not a lot, but some churches are saying that it's completely okay to worship from home.
Yeah.
Is that where you're creating, I would say, an unhealthy environment
100%. Yeah,
for
agreed.
an already somebody that would struggle with social anxiety or who is extremely introverted, to where they are now being told that, man, it is completely okay for me to stay here. When I think that is the complete opposite of a photo and a picture that we see of what a follower of Christ looks like.
Yeah.
So before we get into this and how we can practically look at how we can make worshiping from home, how we can get the most out of it, I think that's the first thing that we need to say is that while yes, it's such a gift, while yes, it's amazing, because like my dad always would use these types of quotes, like what came first, water or the fish? Water, right?
Yeah.
Like what came first, man or the air? What came first, sin or the cross? Well, now we're in a place is like, well, what's come first, the coronavirus or like the internet?
Yeah.
Like we've had this stuff created to help us, stay in contact.
Yeah.
Because imagine if this happened in like the 90s.
Oh yeah, that'd be crazy.
It'd be crazy. It would have been crazy.
Yeah.
Even imagine if this would have happened 15 years ago, like 2005, 2006.
Yeah.
It would have been very difficult. So, we've been blessed with the technology that we have, but it's going to be very comfortable for us to get in a position to where it's going to be okay for us just to wake up on a Sunday morning and say, you know what, I'm not feeling it. But I know First Baptist is going to have a live stream at 9:30 on Facebook. And you know what? I really enjoyed it when I could get up, have a cup of coffee, and have preacher Mike on.
Yeah.
You know? Or they could even get in the tendency, and this is what I've even found myself doing is, you know what I want to do? Man, Elevation came out with the blessing. And they're going to do it this Sunday morning. I want to go over there and I want to watch them. And I want to forget about my local church. You know?
Yeah.
Like, I think that while, yes...
I have that in my notes for later.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, that's because there is that, because if we have that tendency as pastors, then I know that those that are in our ministry have those same tendencies as well. So getting into this, I'm going to just start off, and you have some notes, and
I'm prepared.
You're prepared. I'm prepared.
More than I've ever been prepared for any other podcast. So
wow, dude!
And when I say that, I just literally have a few notes on my iPhone.
That's great. So, starting off of,
I love it.
What does now? I know that these past couple Sundays, we've been at church, but this is actually going to be the first Sunday that we're going to get up, and we're not going to have to go to church, are we?
Yeah, for us it is. Yeah, because so for those of you listening, so we've been in the room. So staff has been in the room every day. We've live streamed it.
Yeah.
I guess we're okay to tell people we recorded the service early. I guess we. Can
I think that they're going to understand that.
Yeah. So we this week actually we recorded our worship service early. That's gonna be played. So yeah, me and Courtney can just wake up and live stream it together and worship together.
So what is, like, from your standpoint, and being the leader of a household, all right? Men, this is going to be you. One day you are going to be, if you're not already, you're going to be the leader of the household. You're going to be the one that is setting the example and setting a precedent on what your family's going to do. So, and ladies, you're going to want to find a man that feels that way, and so on and so forth. So, what are you going to establish as, hey, this is what our Sunday morning is going to look like?
Oh man, so what I did is I made a list of things that I would do in order. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then I have one thing that's important at the end. That's what I did.
That's cool. Well,
and we can kind of see where they go.
Yeah.
I do want to give a disclaimer first. I put this is, I think we are all different in how we. So I think there's some things about the list that I would argue is something that we should all do, no matter whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, no matter whether you're a morning person or an afternoon person. Like, I do think there's some truths that transcend all of that. You know what I'm saying? You should do. But at the same time, like, I know people who, man, they, like, I know some people who can sit down on their couch and be fully engaged in what's happening. You know what I'm saying? Like, they can sit down on their couch and have a cup of coffee or whatever, and they can be fully engaged. I know my tendency would not be that. Like, my tendency, if I'm sitting on the couch, I'm going to get really comfortable, and I'm going to feel like I'm watching a TV show instead of actually worshiping together. You know what I mean? And so I think it is important to know is that, man, I think there is some differences in how we do this. I really do. And you might disagree with that to some extent. That's okay. I think there is some things where someone could say, man, on Sunday mornings, like, I really can sit in my bed and I really can focus and I will sing and I'll be, maybe some years that are especially watching this alone, like, I think that is doable. Would I do that? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
And would I recommend that? I wouldn't recommend it, but I think someone could potentially do that. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So I think it's okay to acknowledge that we're different. You disagree with any of that?
Well, I think
it's good if we disagree a little bit on this thing.
Let's spark fly. This is the big thing about it is that like, if you go down that road, then I think you're going to be more comfortable of doing that. Like, it goes back to what we said.
I think so.
You're going to get more comfortable in doing that instead of... Now, if you're a student and you're listening to this and you have that parent in your life that's going to look at you and bust up in your room on a Sunday morning, like, hey, we're going to church, then, that's going to happen. But you're creating within yourself let's just be honest. We don't know how long... Trump said yesterday that he wants to be back in church by Easter Sunday. Yeah. Or we want the... country back open by Easter. That'd be freaking awesome, by the way.
Yeah.
How epic of an Easter Sunday would that be?
Sunday.
Like, that's just epic. But say for instance, we don't know how long this is going to last. You're going to create. How long does it take to create a habit?
Not 8 weeks.
No, exactly. So you can create a habit, and I think that's the fearful thing of just overall thinking about it. Is that if you're that type of person that. I can be completely engaged in being in my pajamas, and I can be completely engaged and laying in bed and just waking up and watching this, then what's going to hold you back from doing that on a weekly basis? You know?
Yeah. I think that's legit fear. I think it is. Yeah.
And you know what? There may be, it may just be something for this moment where you're like that. But here's another thing, like, and this is backing up a question that we could ask. Like, where, would we consider it a sin?
To not dress up?
But no, not to dress, but like, is that just legitimate?
Kidding.
Like, when you're looking at it and when you miss that Sunday, and then you watch it from home, like, I don't think scripturally speaking, like, there is something that would say that is sin.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't say it is.
But at the same time, I think that you're going down you're just going down a path that is more likely for you to commit sin.
Yeah. And I do think, I mean, what Hebrews, like, don't forsake the gathering of believers. So I think there is something to say, like, if you intentionally forsake gathering together, whether that's online right now in this season or physically together. And this is where I would even say this is can we talk about pet peeves in churches? Can we do that? Okay, pet peeves. And then I'll get to my list. I'll get to my list.
Pet peeves.
But a pet peeve of mine is when churches vocally say it's okay to watch at home. Like, it's okay, because churches do that now. They invite you, like, every single week. This is before Corona, and it'll be there after Corona. And my fear is that it will become more after Corona. Is that churches will realize, oh my gosh, more people are watching this, and that's great. I use it as a resource. Use your online service. But when we begin to communicate that, hey, it's fine if you do this, that's a huge pet peeve of mine, because I really think. And I know right now we're making the best of a situation where we are, quote unquote, gathering, but it goes back to what we were talking about with the physical gathering of believers. Like that, I think Scripture does call us to that. So if we have the opportunity to be in church, to be with other believers, and yet we forsake that to just watch on our computer, that's a very slippery slope. And yeah, I don't know if that was what you were talking about, but that's kind of where I come down on it.
Well, I think that. And this is just, once again, before we get into the list, because everybody's so excited about it.
They're waiting on pins and needles.
I was listening. There is this local pastor, and he is a great expositor. And I kind of talked to you about him. I went to hear him. I went to a funeral, and I heard him. It was the most epic funeral sermon I ever heard.
I love it.
But he preached, Jonathan Blankenship, he preached from 1 Thessalonians, and how Paul was always continually talking to them until we meet again. Like how he was always... He was eager to meet with them again and to see them again. And so I think that is really what can push you. Now, you could even think about this. Well, if I'm creating myself, like, let's even take this internet thing a step further and say, well, we're doing Zoom now. Everyone's doing Zoom, which apparently I heard that they knocked off the 40-minute limit.
Did they really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So, like, you can meet as long as you want to on Zoom
sweet,
now,
cool.
Which is really cool. But
good on them.
Say then you're in a place to where you're just like, well, I'm going to start doing my small group on Zoom, like e-community or something like that.
Yeah.
Then you could even say that every aspect that you probably have of a church could be met online. But
that's what people could say. Yeah.
Once again, it goes back to the point of the importance of physically being with people.
And I would just say, we brought up Eli earlier. Eli would love me for bringing this up, but oh man, there's so many rabbit trails on this. We could talk forever before we get to this list. But how are you going to celebrate baptism? Behind a computer. How are you going to take Lord's Supper?
By the clapping emoji.
I guess so. How are you going to take Lord's Supper? Behind a computer.
Buying grape juice.
I guess some people would say take it behind your computer screen. And I'm just like, now there might be some churches that are doing that right now.
We'll just mail you the sacrament.
But that's a serious thing, man. Like and again, I go back to Acts 2:42. I go back to Acts 2:42 because they devoted themselves to being together, and so if we remove ourselves from that, and I don't care what people say, and this is not me being like the internet's terrible. No, the internet's amazing because of what we're being able to do right now.
Yes.
Like it's incredible and it's awesome. But I don't think we use the internet's awesome as an excuse to not physically be together.
Bam.
Yeah. So, all right, you on my list?
So first and foremost,
host this, but you tell me.
First and foremost, no, just
I'm
first.
following you,
But
bro.
I think that we had this idea of practical ways of making worship at home better.
Yes.
But I think that we needed to openly
need to.
communicate our fact that we love our church. Sundays and Thursdays are my two favorite days of the week.
Same, man. Well, Sundays and Wednesdays.
Yeah, like the opportunity that I get to see my people.
Mm-hmm.
The opportunity that I can see their faces, give them hugs, shake their hands, laugh with them, joke with them in person, eat with them, because that's something that's really important about what we do on Thursdays.
Yeah.
Like that's the big thing.
Food's always great.
Because there is something, and this goes back to we're Baptists, of course, food is great,
Yeah.
but there's something special about sitting across from somebody, and it's almost like in a weird way intimate, like sharing a meal with somebody.
Yeah.
So, anyways, with all that being said, what are some things that you're going to do that you are doing to make worship at home, like getting the most out of it?
Okay.
What are things that you're going to do?
Do you want my just list straight up, and then you talk about each one individually, or you want me to just list them all?
Just go for them, and then we'll talk from there.
Okay, so number one for me is get up earlier. And
Okay.
so what I mean by that is, and I'm not saying you got to wake up like 6 a.m., but like if, for us, we'll have 8, 9:30, and 11 on blended service, whatever. Not saying we're going to watch 8, 9:30, and 11, although we'll probably watch the blended and we'll probably watch the lift. We'll probably do both of those. But it's not, okay, I'm live streaming 8 o'clock. I'm going to roll out of bed at 7:58,
Yeah.
right? Like I'm just, sweet, 5 minutes before service, I'm just going to roll out
So
of bed.
here's the question then. Are you very adamant on like watching the service that you would usually attend?
That doesn't bother me.
Okay.
I can see why some people would be
That's
like,
cool.
want to stay in the routine.
Creature of habits. Yeah.
Yeah, to me, that doesn't bother me.
Okay.
But we'll get to watching which service at the end. But yeah, for me, is get up earlier. I know I used to have a class in college where it was awesome, man. I had an 8 a.m. Anatomy class, Anatomy 101, and it was like a 2-minute walk from my dorm. And bro, I would roll out of bed at 7:55.
Yes.
And you know what I made in that class?
What?
A C+, right?
Attaboy, C's get degrees, baby.
It was my worst grade in college.
Hey, it was just a general ed class.
It was.
Who
That's
cares?
the way I viewed it. It was general ed
cares,
class.
man?
Plus the teacher was really hard. Anyway, though, but I would really just roll out of bed, and I'm sitting there and I'm walking into class, and like I'm not engaged at all in what's happening. And so I'd encourage them, get out of bed, get up earlier. Okay. Any other thoughts on that? Just keep going.
No, I agree. I think that's it. Get up early, and I would say even on top of that, and this be maybe your next point, but shower.
Yeah, whatever you got to do to wake up.
Like you want to get into a place to where you're fully awake. I pray your routine on a Sunday morning is that you get up and then you shower before you go to church. But like literally, you want to get yourself in that routine of preparing like you're actually going.
Yeah,
I would say because I think it helps your mentals.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Whatever you got to do to get ready, like. If that's 30 minutes, and maybe it's 30 minutes, whatever that is, get up earlier. The second thing I did was get out of bed. That was my big one. Get out of bed.
Yes.
So, but again, we might just. I mean, I'm well aware that someone might be able to fully pay attention there. I'm not. Like I know me well enough to know I'm not. I would get so comfortable. I would probably fall back asleep. And you can call me less spiritual for that, but I probably would. But plus two, I think, and this is something I think we separate a lot. I try to tell our students this a lot, again, specifically in worship and music, is like our expression matters.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like our physical expression matters. Like there's a reason that the Bible tells us to lift up our hands. Like there's a reason that people fall on their face before God, right? And like our physical expression matters. And for me, if I'm just sitting there in bed under the covers, even, crisscross applesauce, whatever. However I'm sitting there. I never thought I would have said crisscross applesauce in this podcast.
There you
so
go.
But if that's why you're sitting there, though,
Indian style.
to me, I want to be in a place where physically expecting God to do something, and that might be weird, but you want
to get away from. Honestly, I think that there are certain temptations that will come your way if you're trying to do your church or your worship service in bed.
Yeah.
I think that there are temptations if you are sitting there, like, you could go into like very deep dark temptations, but even just the temptation of, well, you know what, as they finish this song, I know this song, or I don't like this song,
Yeah.
I'm going to flip and go over to Instagram,
Yeah.
or I'm going to flip and check on
Whatever.
TikTok,
Yeah.
or
Whatever.
something like that.
Yeah.
There's those temptations of, and that's even just from the standpoint of watching it on your phone, because because Facebook and Twitter have this awesome thing to where you can continue to watch a video in the
scroll
corner
through
of your
stuff.
screen
Yep.
and still scroll through stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that you're going to want to get I think the main idea is that you want to get yourself into a place to where you are completely engaged.
Yeah. Yeah. And that kind of segues into my third thing, which this could probably be a sub point, but I literally typed and said, don't treat this as a Netflix show. Right. Because for me personally, that's been the biggest challenge the last 2 weeks is sitting there and saying, okay, because I don't care what people say, man. Like, our brains are so hardwired in the way that we normally do things. Like, when something's on the TV, that's entertainment.
Yes.
Like, that's just what our brain is hardwired to think. Because you watch Netflix, sports, everything there. It's just entertaining. Sweet. But really, that's one thing we've really tried to be intentional in the language that we use for our worship services on Wednesday night is whenever we text students or invite them, and I've even had to watch myself saying this, but is, hey, don't come watch at 6:30 on Wednesday night. Come worship with us at 6:30 on Wednesday night.
Yes.
And that's really hard to break myself out of because we're so ingrained on it's on the TV, I'm watching it. But is really to come in with that mindset, I'm not watching Matthew, Darrell, and Keith or Hunter sing. I'm not watching Preacher Mike or Lance preach. I'm worshiping along with them. And that's really hard. Like that, I'm just... To me, that's what scares me about online church. That's what scares me. If we're talking about fears, and fear is not the right word. I think that's the slippery slope, and I hate to go back into that, but that is it. Is it can become something that's very, very okay. Boom, I watched this, and it's over, and bam, it's just like I watched anything else. You know what I'm saying? When really, we shouldn't treat it like we're watching anything else. So yeah.
Well, I don't know. With my tendency, even with just acting like I'm watching, like, for me, sometimes Netflix just becomes that white noise in the background.
Yeah.
And to where, like, I could have something on and then be in my phone.
Yeah.
Or, be in, in the kitchen doing something. Or so many different things. And so if it's so easy, like you said, to treat it like that, to say, hey, watch with us. No.
Yeah.
Worship is a gathering of believers, and it's corporately you doing something in unison and you participating in something.
Yeah.
And when you're watching something, you're not participating. You are on the sidelines.
Yeah.
I think our mindset needs to be about a worship service, a worship gathering is that no, we're not on the sidelines within this.
You're involved as well.
We are involved with this. We are involved as in worshiping with through music, worshiping through giving, worshiping through the teaching of God's word by adamantly listening to that. When you say that you're watching it, you become somebody on the sideline.
Yeah.
And so having that mindset, man, I have the opportunity to worship today.
Yeah. Agreed. I'm with you. So that, I guess that comes to number 4. I did, and that, to me, this is just me. I said use your computer. If you have the ability, put it on a TV, put it on a screen, and then put your phone away. And so it's not, because what you brought up with Facebook is great, like where you can minimize the video and it's still playing and scroll through. Or with your computer, it's, okay, I got my computer right here. Well, I love my Mac, man. I can just swipe from tab to tab so easily. And so it's, this song's not really my favorite song, really quick. Let's just swipe over and I'm going to check this or check that or whatever. And so to me, it's like this is what we're probably going to do on Sunday is our TV's got an HDMI cord. We'll plug up our computer and the service will be there. So we'll worship with the service there and then probably put our phones away to where if I'm going to change something, because obviously, you can get up and change the screen if you really like to, but I'm going to have to get up and move to do it instead of it's just sitting right there on my lap when it's so easy to swipe through.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to have my phone right there either blowing up or seeing what's going on here or there. But I guess that's kind of, the recurring theme of all of these, because that's even going to go to my next one. Now I'll go into my next one too, is sit up. For me, it's going to be sit up close to the TV. Like not sit on the couch, not sitting on the couch. Probably, honestly, we'll probably bring a chair in like from our kitchen.
Yeah.
It's not as comfortable, you know what I'm saying? But it's one that I'm not sitting, and y'all might think I'm weird, but I don't care. I'm not sitting in like a relaxed position with my legs up. I'm sitting there as if I'm really sitting there on a Sunday morning trying to receive from the Word. And so I guess that's kind of, out of those 5 things, to me, that's kind of the overarching theme is, what can I do to either, I guess, put things on my Sunday morning worship service that's going to help me engage, and what can I do to remove things that's going to be a distraction for me, and just so I can completely engage in what God is doing.
I would add one at the end, and I think this is just kind of more of like a heart matter for yourself. Be graceful in watching.
Yeah.
Have grace.
For yourself or for the service?
I think for the stream. Because, whether you like it or not, and there may be some people even on my end that are going to be watching this that don't go to First Baptist.
Yeah.
And so I think that they may be going to a smaller congregation. We're blessed with the capabilities here at First Baptist to have some pretty awesome content and to have a good picture and a good sound. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think even, I'm not trying to call out your wife on this, but Courtney was talking about it even last Sunday, to where she said, I was watching the live stream and they didn't sound right.
There's something off with it.
There was something off with it. Like, it wasn't the best sound quality of like either within a song or something.
Yeah.
There are certain churches that are mega churches.
Yeah.
That have their quality of how they're broadcasting their service is literally like
ridiculous.
Cable TV version.
Yeah.
Yeah. That it's literally like that you're watching a TV show. And a lot of the churches that are in America don't have that type of quality. Yeah. And
I wouldn't say a lot. I'd be like 98%.
Yeah, the
You know what I'm
majority.
saying? Yeah.
Like, let's just say all of them don't have that quality. Like, my brother, I watched him on Sunday. He was there, and he set up a phone for Facebook Live, and they ran all their music and all their mics and stuff through the phone.
Yeah.
And they sat there on a piano and sang some songs, and then he got up there and preached.
Yeah.
And it was a wide angle. It wasn't just a personal, like just him.
Yeah.
It was a wide angle shot. And, I enjoyed it. It's my brother, so I love listening to my brother preach. But, there could have been the tendency to have been like, this isn't good quality.
Yeah.
Like, I think that you need to have, going into this, give the broadcast grace. Does that make sense?
No, yeah, 100%. Yeah,
because, we go back to it. There's going to be a tendency that's, I think that even going back to this past Sunday, there were so many people using certain platforms for church online that we saw it happen at the Lift at 9:30. The Lift had to, wait 20 minutes before they broadcasted their 9:30 service because of difficulties with the stream. We need to, in this moment, give our those that are creating this content, give them grace, because this is something that's new to a lot of them.
Yeah. No, I agree.
And so that is because if you don't give them grace, then what you're going to do is that you're going to miss out on the word that God has for you from your pastor.
Yeah.
Which I think flows into maybe something.
The next thing.
Next thing.
Yeah, I guess talk about. Yeah, and before we get there real quick, I would say one final thing that I could add, just I'm thinking through, is I think so much of physically gathering together has the accountability aspect of it. You know what I'm saying? Is that, I encourage our life group leaders all the time. Like, man, even if it's just one student a week, like, to me, I always tell them, it's great for you to recognize a student when they're there and say, thank you for coming. It's even bigger deal to say, hey, you weren't there and we missed you. You know what I mean? Because you see that someone wasn't there. Well, you can't do that right now. You know what I mean? You can see who's logging on Facebook, I guess, but it's so fast what's happening. And so I would say a great thing to kind of take away from, services ended, you've worshiped together, is text someone and hold them accountable to say, hey, did you watch this morning? Or did you worship this morning? See, I just did it there. Did you worship alongside of us with live stream this morning? What'd you think about the message? What the Lord used to encourage you? And so I think it does provide that accountability aspect of it. If that, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but no, I think you segued into it great. I do think, and I guess this is the last thing we're talking about, but I do think kind of my biggest conviction on this is one, I think we have an incredible opportunity to see how other churches are doing this. And I think that's great. Like, I really do. Like, I have nothing, I don't have anything against people who watch other pastors.
I think that this
Like,
is
nothing.
the greatest opportunity for church hoppers.
Oh, it is, man.
Literally, let's just be real about
it. It's church hopping heaven, man.
Church
Which, if you don't know what church,
right
if you don't
now.
know what church hopping is, that's church hoppers, where it's like, hey, where are you going to church at? And they're like, oh, First Baptist Union Trail. And then 2 months later, you ask them, where are you going to church at? Oh, Lee Park. Or are you going a month later? Hopeway. You know what I'm saying? Just
Exactly. Going to I go to
Uh-huh.
Elevation, every other week, and then I go to,
Yeah.
I like the intimate feel sometimes of like going to a smaller church.
Which that is another episode for another day
Yeah.
on my feelings on that. But but it is now, and I'll say it's this is where I feel this is such a weird time for me, because I think there's so much that you can be really excited about, but with the things that you can be very excited about, you also need to be careful of. Is because I know there's a great tendency right now to watch Passion's church service. To watch there, like Passion City Church down in Atlanta, watch them, or Elevation's a great example, or I don't know, VU Church or Church Home, or I don't know, whatever church, fill in the blank. And I think it's a great opportunity, because I'd be lying if I said there's a list of about 4 or 5 pastors every week that I listen to preach. And It's not necessarily their last sermon, which I probably should do that, but I do that. But I've even been convicted about this before, because there's some Sunday mornings where I hate it, this is very rare, very rare. But there is some Sunday mornings where I don't get into a worship service, because we have something happening with high school that I have to be there all 3 hours. Maybe we have a leaders meeting today or something. Like, there is some Sunday mornings that I don't get into a worship service, which is very rare. I can count them on one hand every year. But there's been times where I've missed it, and then that's the next Monday or next Tuesday, I'll listen to another pastor preach, and then listen to another pastor preach, and then I might go 3 or 4 days without ever listening to Preacher Mike or Lance bring the word. And I do think that's a problem. I was telling you the other day, my grandma said something great, and they were my grandma goes to Wingate Baptist Church, right? Real small, just old country church, and I love it. And her Sunday school teacher was talking, and he was talking about who your favorite pastor should be. And I was joking with my grandma, because she I'm her favorite preacher. You know what I mean? Like, I'm her favorite.
Aww.
And I think there's some exceptions, but there's
So
3 people
sweet.
I know I'm their favorite. It's my mom, my grandma, and Courtney. Other than that, I don't care what anyone else thinks.
Not even
but
Lauren?
I'm their
Lauren's
favorite.
not your favorite?
Lauren would probably say I'm her favorite. I think Lauren would say that. I hope she listens to this, and she should tell me. But I don't know. And my dad would be for. And probably all my grandparents. So I have several people. But anyway, and so my grandma was joking with them. Like, she says, well, my grandson's my favorite preacher. And the guy was like, yeah, I think that's an exception, But his point was, and I think this is a ton of wisdom from a guy teaching a Sunday school class in Wingate Baptist Church, is your favorite pastor should be your pastor.
Yeah.
Your favorite preacher to listen to should be the one that you sit under every single week. And I'll even say this. That's not you saying that your preacher is a better communicator than someone else.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's not what I'm saying. Because I think that's a different podcast too. But for me as a preacher, that's often something intimidating. It's like, okay, how good of a communicator can I be? Because I know people can find the best communicators out there just at the tap of a button. You know what I mean? And so it's not even saying that, but it's the pastor that you've chosen to be involved with, which is why we could talk about church hopping later. But the pastor that you've chosen to submit yourself under, right? Because I think that's biblical.
Yeah.
I think is because I'm a big read 1 Peter 5, right? I'm a big pastoral authority guy, and so the church you've chosen to submit yourself in, to be in, to invest in, I think it's so important that you go to that church first on a Sunday morning. And it's again, it's not saying, because I went to Elevation the other day too, because I was just curious what they did. I went to it was Church Without Walls, Ralph West. I wanted to see what they did. And so there's other churches that I've listened to this week that are not our church, but Sunday morning, Courtney and I, we will go to First Baptist first, and that's where we will be fed first.
And you need to understand the importance of that is that there is something that is God gives your pastor a specific word for you.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that in the aspect of shepherding,
Yeah.
like, there is going to be things that you're a part of in the congregation and the flock that you're a part of. The pastor on a weekly basis knows really the direction and that God is pointing him towards. Like, let's just say it for you. Like, I think that you have an overall idea of where you're wanting to, like, that God has given you a vision and a direction that you want to lead the point. And I think it's important that those people that are involved in the point hear from you, because I think that God has a word for them through you.
Yeah.
And in the same way, Preacher Mike has a word for his specific flock.
Yeah.
Lance has a word for the specific flock there. And so, honestly, I would even jump up and say this. This is a bold statement.
I'll give it to me.
If your pastor isn't your favorite preacher, then I would say that you're
where your favorite preacher is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let's just be real about it.
Uh-huh.
And so I think that's a challenging fact, because then if you're, let's say, if your favorite pastor is Matt Chandler, then your whole idea of what you're preaching, what you want your preaching to be, is going to be based upon what Matt Chandler is. And if you're involved in a church that is not like the Village Church, then you're going to probably leave services probably more frustrated.
Bitter, confused. Yeah.
Yes. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because go to the place, you're doing the church a disservice then at that point, because then you're not bought into what the vision of that church is. You're bought into the vision of what the Village Church is.
Yeah.
So I think that it's really important for you to understand that, like, I think that, and that's another day, another podcast for another day. We could even talk about the importance of, being completely involved with, specifically in your church.
Yeah.
And the dangers of constantly listening to other churches and other pastors. Because then your mind is set up as, well, I like that more than what I have here.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, it does. And I would just say, I mean, just for utter clarity's sake, is like I love listening to Matt Chandler preach.
Exactly.
I really love listening to preach. So that's not at all what we're saying. But I do. I think it is something. I got an example. This is another church I was at. This wasn't at First Baptist. We had a lady who she was constantly she listened every week to the live stream of another church. And she kind of felt like, I guess, a responsibility to serve where she was, like at our church, because she just felt that responsibility. And I almost like in a guilty way, like I can't leave this ministry that I'm in. And I just told him, I said, just go there. I said, look, I said, we're fine. I said, I love you. I'm going to miss you. I really am going to miss serving with you. But I said, if that's where you're really being fed every week and that's what you're listening to every single week, then go there and serve there. And I don't know. I'm with you. I think there's a lot of dangers when we bounce around. And online makes that really easy, man, because every single Monday morning, YouTube is flooded with sermons from awesome communicators. But I think that's great. I think that's a good word that you said is, I got asked the other day, why do we do our own camp? Right? Why do we put on our own camp? Why do I speak at our own camp? Because I had a guy telling me, he was like, man, you can hang out with students so much better if you didn't have the need to preach the 4 nights, which is true, because preaching 4 nights in a row is exhausting at camp. But I always just say, I'm like, no one can preach to our students the way I can. And that's not like a identity thing. It's not like a power move. It's just, no, I know our students better than anyone else does.
And let's just be honest with you.
Yeah.
You're not, and this is for sake of the illustration, like, it's almost something to where the type of sins that they're dealing with.
Yeah, you
just the thing to where you're like, man, this is where, and it's not like you're trying to call them out on those things. It's just the matter of the facts. Is like, okay, well, God's pushing me in this direction through this book of the Bible, because you enjoy preaching through books of the Bible. I enjoy preaching through books of the Bible. Usually, I find myself that the book of the Bible that God has us going through is something that is directly affecting the ministry that I'm leading.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that that's the same thing that we see even on Sunday mornings through what Preacher Mike, what Lance are doing, is that they are getting a word from God that is directly for
the people they're speaking
to. They're there.
Yeah.
And I would even say this: if you would leave a service on a Sunday and you're just ticked off, That's not a healthy place to be in as
Probably
a
not.
believer.
Yeah. And I think, oh gosh, there's so many tangents. Goodness gracious. is in no way, shape, or form are we saying that like First Baptist Union Trail is a perfect place? Like, absolutely not. Like, I mean, I guess I can say this on a microphone if I'm being recorded. Like, there's times I get frustrated, man. Like, I mean, I tell people all the time, like, I set the bar so low for our students. Like, I love it. I set the bar so low for them. I'm like, if you are here with us from freshman year to senior year, eventually something is gonna happen. Like, if you and I'm not saying, like, this is why I think, and this is where I think church hoppers get in trouble, right? Because most church hoppers I see are like from a year to year and a half. I don't know about you. That's kind of what I see. Like a year and a half, one place. And here's what I think happens is, this is my theory on it, is I think those people actually love Jesus. They really do. And they want to serve and they want to get plugged in. And when you serve and you get plugged in, you begin to realize that this place is more messy than the Sunday morning service lets on.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And so it's, okay, I started plugging and this place seemed great when I was just watching it from a bird's eye view for 4 months and I'm determined if this is where I'm going to be. But oh man, I'm actually serving with the high school pastor, and Justin Kinley is kind of weird, and they do some stuff that's kind of frustrating. He made some decisions that maybe I don't agree with, and so this thing's kind of messy, and so I'm going to back out.
The greatest advice my dad ever gave me on ministry, and he told me this like a year ago, is that, and this is, ministry is sometimes like cleaning out cow crap.
Yeah.
It's messy.
It is. 100%.
It's dirty. It's dirty, and I think that comes then upon expectations versus reality.
Yeah.
You're like, and so I don't know how we got on this tangent.
I don't either, but yeah, I really don't.
But I think that there is this. There could be also, and there are a lot of positives, and we want to look at, we want to be optimistic.
Yeah, I feel like I sound so negative.
We want to be optimistic about online church. We want to be glass half full of like, man, because let's just be real about it, man. Through our live stream, God is saving people. Mm-hmm. We are being shown in more churches. I mean, not more, but like more households.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
More people are viewing our stuff. Mm-hmm. Man, that's praise the Lord.
Absolutely.
Like, from the standpoint of somebody that's over social media, all of our clicks, everything that's upon our Facebook page, upon our website, man, it's going up 200%, 300%, 400%.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which that's such a blessing. But I think that we need to be cautious, that we just make sure that we're putting our church as the priority.
Yeah.
That Sunday morning, that for students Wednesday night, that for,
and I would even say for our students Sunday morning.
Yeah.
Like if you're to our high school students listening, like, and you don't. This is the great thing. You don't have to pick between Sunday and Wednesday night. But if you had to pick Sunday morning, man.
Amen.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if you had to pick, and I would love them to watch both, and there really should be no reason they have to pick between the two. Like, no, you know what I'm saying? But I think that's the priority we should place on it. 100%. 100%. Yeah. Sorry, I don't know. How do we get on that?
It's
I don't know.
Just us.
Go to your, but I think it is, and again, it all comes back. To me, the excitement of online is tremendous. And we should be excited about it. And I mean, gosh, man, like you said, we're reaching people, amazing. The opportunities we're having is incredible. But I think it is okay to sit here and say, okay, on the hindsight of this, because we will get through this, and we will physically meet together again. What are some things that we need to go ahead and be aware of? And I think one of the things we need to be aware of is there might be a tendency to stay at home more. Might be. I don't think at first there will be.
No,
I think at first there will be.
Like a month in.
Yeah, but there'll be a tendency to stay at home more. And there might be a tendency to stay at home more and watch other churches. And in no way, again, no way, I'm just trying to be crystal clear, are we saying other churches, I'm not even saying like Matt Chandler's theology is bad or someone, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's other churches are great to listen to, but man, your pastor feeding you is so huge. And so invest there first. So yeah, my prayer, I'll tell you my prayer, and then you can end it, if you can ask me another random question if you want to. You can ask me about what the Panthers are doing, because I have no idea.
Dude.
Anyway, let me say my spiritual thing first. Is my prayer for our students, I think specifically, has been and will continue to be, is that in this season we don't see church as something, okay, sweet, I can just watch online if I can't make it, but that we really will see the value of gathering together unlike we never have before.
Yeah.
That I'm just like, I'm so excited for our first Wednesday night back and our first Sunday morning back. Just to really be able to stress that to our students, like, man, because this is what's really cool to me is, and this is true for me and you, is 24 years old and however old you are, whatever, is for the first time in my life I could not quote unquote go to church. Like seriously. You know what I mean? And obviously I know we're talking about live stream and stuff, but physically go. And so I'm convinced that when we have stuff in our life that's been there for so long, we're tempted to forget the value of it.
Yeah.
And we're tempted to forget the importance of it. And it is definitely my prayer, not only just for high school students, but just for our entire church, that this season, that it does many things for us. But I'm just praying that there's some people in our church and some high school students who used to attend church casually, that now it's like, oh my gosh, I realize how beautiful that is. And I realized it because I couldn't go to it. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I think that's going to happen. I think it's going to happen, which is going to be really cool to see how the Lord uses all this. So
it's going to be awesome. It's I'm excited for the first Thursday that I get together back with my peeps.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I called them peeps.
Peeps.
My peoples.
Peeps.
My peoples. I'm excited about the first Sunday that I get together corporately with my brothers and sisters in Christ, because, man, it's going to be a great day.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just grateful, man, that, I couldn't do it without laughing. I was going to say, I'm just grateful God has a plan and works all things. Because right now, I don't think David Tepper can do anything right now. So I don't know what, that was my segue. You like that?
Oh, my gosh.
I like it. I'm just kidding.
So, you know what? I think that we'll do another one of these. I'm not saying next week, but the next couple weeks. And I'm just going to throw the topic on you right now. Okay?
Oh, gosh. Oh, dude.
But
then now if I deny it, then everyone's going to know. So you're putting me in a corner because I have to say yes, but I will say yes. I'll talk about it.
I think that, and this is going to be.
Hit me with
I think that this won't get the most clicks, but the importance of giving.
Oh yeah.
I think that that's a topic that we could have a conversation about.
Yeah.
And we really didn't get onto this today, but and we're not coming from the standpoint of being pastors that are needy.
Yeah.
Because I think,
dude, we'll be all right, dude.
We're going to be. Good. God's got our. We are when me and Justin were called into ministry, we took the biggest leap of faith, because truly being called into ministry shows you that you are fully relying upon God for your source of income.
Yeah.
So we're trusting God for those things, but from the standpoint of a follower of Christ, what is the importance? Why is it important to give?
Yeah. Isn't it funny that, oh, dude, this would preach so good. I think it would. A lot of people maybe complaining about the quality of a broadcast.
Yeah.
I mean, that takes money. That takes, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
I'm sure there are church members all across the world right now complaining, or across the United States complaining, why does our church not look better? Well, I mean, it takes money to do stuff like that, man.
Cash rules everything around us, man. Cream.
Yeah, that's a good one. I'll talk about that. That'd be good.
We will. Anyways, cool. With all that being said, Justin
Dude,
is upset with the Panthers.
If you made it this far for an hour, God bless you, because I wouldn't want to listen to myself talk for an hour.
Dude, I think that you're upset with the Panthers. I am still holding in hope that Cole Anthony is going to come back for a sophomore year.
That'd be awesome.
Because he still hasn't announced it, and I'm still got hope in for that. The Carolina Panthers spent $20 million on a wide receiver.
Dude, you had to bring it up, and I know we're over an hour. But listen, we spent the same day we cut Cam, we signed a receiver for 3 times more the amount of money than we ever spent on a receiver in the entire tenure of Cam Newton's career.
Has he even been a Pro Bowler or anything?
Dude, what are? And then my question too. Sorry, podcast people. I'm sorry. My question too is like, okay, if you'd asked me a week ago, I'm like, yeah, we're rebuilding. But if we're rebuilding, why the heck are we signing Teddy Bridgewater? I mean, just let Will Grier play and lose games.
I'm ready.
Why are we signing a dude for $20 million? Like, let's just lose.
Well,
games.
let's just think about it. Okay, let's look at the.
You're making me mad, Nate.
No, let's look at the contracts in general. You can get out of that Teddy Bridgewater contract.
Yeah, you can.
You can. If there's something that this year, because I think we're really tanking for Trevor, and I would even say more.
But see, are we though? Why did we sign Teddy if we're tanking for Trevor? Because I'm all on board. I'm all on board with taking Trevor.
Why did we sign Teddy?
John Sprinkle coming in here.
We're on a podcast right now.
We're on a podcast.
We're on a podcast.
So I really want us to tank for.
You get, man.
No, you're good.
We talked an hour about spiritual stuff. They're gonna hear all this and wonder what's going on.
Yeah, what's going on?
John
Sprinkle
this is our
in the
conclusion.
Yeah. Here's where Kev's gonna land.
Exactly. So, but really, what I would love for us to do is, and I know this is 2 years away, tank for Sam, dude. How epic would it be?
Sam Howell?
If Sam Howell. Shout out Sun Valley.
I do think.
Shout out Tar Heels.
I do think.
How epic would it be if
I
he
do
came back
think
home?
Trevor Lawrence would be the better pro, though. I do think that.
How
and I love Sam Howell.
How dare you?
Dude, Sam Howell is reignited. Not even reignited. ignited my love. I mean, it was never like a re. Like, it ignited my love for Tar Heel football.
Man. I've always loved Tar Heel football. You know what's funny?
That we're just talking about random stuff on the podcast now.
If
they made it this far,
nobody's listening to this, but I'm just going to talk to you about it. I've never remembered Preacher Mike being a North Carolina football fan. But ever since Sam Howell has gone, right now? I'm calling him out right now.
Calling out Preacher?
I'm calling him out right now. But ever since Sam Howell went to the University of North Carolina, I've gotten so many text messages, and every time he's like, "How about my boy Sam?" or "How about our Tar Heels?" And I was like, "When in the world did you ever like North Carolina football?"
That's amazing because it's true.
It's like awesome. That's how it is. As soon as there was he's like, because I think Preacher Mike baptized his father.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Another side story. I met Sam Howell's dad in the bathroom at La Unica.
Yeah, you told me that. It's creepy. Whenever you say, I met a guy in the bathroom, it's just weird, man.
Nobody knows.
Can I tell you my weirdest bathroom story?
What?
And then we need to close. Or one of my weirdest bathroom stories is me and Jake Wooten. If Jake Wooten is listening to this, Jed Wooten might be listening to this. Me and Jake Wooten hosted the Metroana Talent Show our senior year. And humble brag, we killed it. It was awesome. And I mean, just people loved it. It was hilarious. It was good. We did a really good job. And so I was wearing a suit and tie. Jake is wearing like a tuxedo shirt, right? And we go back to the bathroom afterwards. It like changed or something. Like I was changing. He had to use the bathroom or something like that. This dad walks in, like 50-something years old, and just starts raving about how well we were doing or whatever, He says, "Hey," let me get a selfie with you guys. Let me take a picture of you guys. It's like 55-year-old man takes a selfie. The urinals are in the background of it or whatever, And I'm just like, dude, who is this guy? And I think that story was better in my head, but it was really weird. It made me very uncomfortable.
I remember one time I was at Real Evangelism, and it was in between sessions or something. Our session was about to start.
Yeah.
And I was in the bathroom in the Welcome Center. The Welcome Center bathroom, and somebody was in the stall beside me and asked me how I was doing. And I said, "Oh, doing well." And I said, "How are you?" And he said, "Oh, I'm just doing well, just peeing." And yeah.
It's like, bro, just let me go.
Anyways,
we started talking about church, got on the bathrooms. Oh, what a day.
Anyways, thank y'all so much for joining us on the Smash
Why
Up.
did you listen this far?
Man, we pray that this was a blessing to you, and then maybe at the end this was also just a joy and made you laugh a little bit.
We need some
laugh. We need some
man.
stuff to make us laugh. So, with all that being said, thank y'all so much. We pray that you would practically use some of the things that we talked about in how you decide to worship this Sunday. More than anything, my encouragement is don't forsake watching a service this Sunday. Get online.
Worship with us.
Worship. And, man, it's going to be exciting. Thank you again. I think that's all I'm going to say because we'll do outros on our own, I guess. Right? You have an outro where your wife
My beautiful wife talks. And my beautiful wife introduces me as our awesome high school youth pastor, my husband,
How much
Justin
did you pay
Kinley.
her
I didn't. She just said it. And I told her I wanted to change it to make it more professional, and she said, "How dare you?" And so I left it. So I love it. She's awesome. Love. She's the bomb.
So where are you playing golf this Friday?
I don't know, man. That's another conversation for the other day.
Because that's all pastors do. Sit around, make
podcasts, play golf.
That's all white pastors do.
I love it.
Sit around, make podcasts, and go golfing.
I love it. All right, we love you all.
Bye. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Views from the Trail. Views from the Trail is the podcast of the Ignite Young Adult Ministry of First Baptist Church Indian Trail. You can follow all things Ignite on our Instagram page at ignite_FBCIT. Thank you again for joining us. We'd love to have you come and worship with us on a Sunday morning here at First Baptist. Our blended worship service is at 8, 9:30, and 11 a.m. in the Worship Center. And then our Modern Worship Center worship service, The Lift, meets at 9:30 and 11 in the Worship and Performing Arts Center. We also have life groups for young adults on Sunday morning. We meet at 9:30 in the Field House, which is the building right beside the lift. We also have a Thursday night Bible study. We have dinner at 6:30, and then our worship starts at 7, and this meets in the Student Center on the campus of First Baptist Indian Trail. Thank you again for listening to this edition of Views from the Trail. We pray that it was a blessing to you, and that you would use what you heard to glorify God. Thank you, and have a great day. Peace out.